Hey, everybody, welcome to the Mets It Up pilot. I am Uncle Freezy. Y'all see my name right there, man. I'm just gonna try. I'm trying something new on a Mets It Up YouTube channel, right? But based on what YouTube is telling me, with vibes and stuff, and with Blowing's Tears, I have a couple of things I have to do the waiting period. You know what I'm saying, before I start another channel. Um, so I'm gonna do the pilot here and download clips of it over there, right? And then let me see, remove, save changes. Okay, I'm gonna do it over here, but I want to get into um, some real Mets talk, right? I understand. I understand. There are like 1,000 Mets channels out there, and I'm not trying to compete with them. But I want to talk Mets talk kind of like the way that we like to have that Mets talk to us, right? Shout out to JJ. Let's go Mets. Shout out to Adam. Adam is in the building. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Right. So first, the first thing I want to say is so I have um yeah. So can we get a Met? David David L. Yeah, I got one, man. I have one already prepared on YouTube. I have to do the 24-hour waiting period before I can start streaming on it. I could have done videos at any time, right? Right. I could have done videos at any time, but I don't want to do videos. I want to do live streams like this so that I can interact with Mets fans, right? And I want Mets fans to drive the channel. Yeah, man. So so my deal is this. I have a few things I want to get off my chest. I want to talk about the prospects. I want to talk about Vientos, Mauricio, Beatty, Alvarez, Ramirez, and Parada. Briefly, though, I want to talk about them briefly. I want to talk about how much I miss Jacob DeGrom already, right? I want to update the Carlos Correa thing, right? I want to talk about the Carlos Correa thing. But first, I want to talk to y'all about my love of baseball, right? So I'm gonna talk to y'all first about my love of baseball, so then you can understand why I love the Mets so much. Because I know a lot of you guys watch me and y'all understand, y'all know my story about the Knicks, right? Y'all know that I started off my favorite professional team was the Harlem Globetrotters, and I used to go to the Garden to see the Harlem Globetrotters all the time, right? You already know that. That's a funny kid story, right? As a kid, you hear Sweet Georgia Brown, you lose your mind every time you go to the Garden. Every time you go to the Garden, you know what I'm saying, it's to see the Harlem Globetrotters. They be playing Sweet Georgia Brown. Meadowlark Lemon is out there throwing water on people, and Curly Neal is out there sliding across the floor, dribbling behind his back, and all that stuff. Y'all already know my story about that, but I wanted to talk to y'all, about my Mets journey and why it's important for y'all to know how much I love the Mets, right? And that's why I want to do this channel. See, for me as a kid, there was no second team, no first team, right? As a kid, you know how you watch, as a kid, I'm watching Hank Aaron's um chase the record home run record, right? As a kid, right? As a kid, because what happens is as a baby, the Knicks, the Mets, and the Jets all won the championship when I was a baby, right? When I was a baby. Think about this. Think about the city. Think about the city, right? 1970s ish, early 70s. The New York Jets are the Super Bowl champs. What? Think about what I just said. In the city, the New York Jets are the Super Bowl champs. Right? Think about that. Now think about this. The New York Knicks are the NBA champs. Right? And then think about this. This is the kicker. The New York Mets, out of nowhere, the Mets had been a disaster. And I don't know, because I wasn't even born when the Mets were an expansion team. I wasn't even born. I think my pops might have been in high school when the Mets were an expansion team, right? But think about this. So Uncle Freezy is a toddler walking around, and the Jets, the Mets, and the Knicks are all champions of the world. What? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Man, are you serious? Are you serious? Hey, JJ, I see you. I see you. I think that's smoke. I see you with the Correa thing. I think that's smoke. I'm gonna get to the Correa thing. I have a thought about the Correa thing. I think it's gonna tickle y'all fancy about Correa, right? So anyway, my pops from South Carolina, they used to listen to the Dodgers on the radio. So back then, he was a Dodgers fan, even though he's from South Carolina, right? He's a Dodgers fan, the Brooklyn Dodgers, Brooklyn Dodgers. So when I was little, he used to bribe me like, "Yo, Uncle Freezy, yo, if you be a Dodgers fan, I'll buy you a whatever, whoever was a hot young player." Right? See, I didn't like the Dodgers though. I liked a dude named Cleon Jones. Don't ask me why. I still like Cleon Jones to this day. I have a Cleon Jones baseball card in the room. I'll go get it if y'all think I'm messing around, right? So, I go to a baseball game. The Mets are the worst team in the league, struggling. A dude hits a grand slam, hits a walk off in the rain. The Mets let off fireworks, and I look to everybody and I'm like, "Yep, I'm a Mets fan." This is like 70. I had to be little. I had to be like just in grade school. Like I had to like just have started school. So I had to be like 5 years old. So it's 5 or 6 years old. 5 years old maybe. And I remember all I could do was eat, sleep, and think Mets. Cleon Jones and all them guys that we had, Bud Harrelson, and all these dudes that some of y'all have never even heard of, right? Tom Seaver, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people. But anyway, that's why I'm doing the channel. But listen, here we are. Here we are. Let me get to my thoughts. Let me get Jacob deGrom out of my system, and then I'm gonna get to the Carlos Correa thing, right? So once every other generation or so, your franchise will develop a player, whether he's a draft pick, a signee, or whatever. Once every other generation or so, the Mets will get a otherworldly pitcher, right? Whether his name is Tom Seaver, Nolan Ryan, Dwight Gooden, Jacob deGrom. Every once in a while, the Mets will get that guy who you don't even have to look at stats. You know he's the best guy in the game, right? I think Jacob deGrom was that guy. There was a time where Jacob deGrom, when he was coming up, we didn't know if he was going to be the fifth starter or the ace, right? We didn't know if he was going to be the fifth starter or the ace. Because the Mets in that rotation, the Mets had a dude named Matt Harvey. Right? The Mets had Matt Harvey. The Mets had a dude they traded and got from the Toronto Blue Jays. Y'all remember R.A. Dickey? JJ, you remember R.A. Dickey, right? The Mets had a dude named R.A. Dickey. He won a Cy Young with the Mets, right? The Mets traded him to Toronto for Toronto's prize young catcher, right? Their prize young catcher, a dude named Travis d'Arnaud, and a prospect, and another low-level prospect. Well, that low-level prospect in that R.A. Dickey trade was a flamethrower named Noah Syndergaard. Right? Right? So the Mets trade R.A. Dickey to the Toronto Blue Jays for their prize prospect catcher, a dude named Travis d'Arnaud, and a low-level pitching prospect flamethrower named Noah Syndergaard. Right? And just before that, or around the same time, the Mets were out of playoff contention, and they traded our beloved Met, probably one of the best center fielders we ever had, a dude named Carlos Beltran. We traded him to the San Francisco Giants for a middle-level flame-throwing prospect that couldn't keep the ball over the plate named Zach Wheeler. So the Mets had these prospects all at one time. A college hitting machine named Michael Conforto, a hitting machine in college named Michael Conforto. The Mets had two prospects from the R.A. Dickey trade, Travis d'Arnaud and some no-name named Noah Syndergaard. The socially awkward guy that was kind of weird. You didn't know, and this is at that time, kind of weird. People thought he was kind of strange, a little bit kind of, later on we'd find out that he was a really cool dude and people just didn't understand him. Right? So you have these prospects. You have your DeGrom, right? You have your two players from the R.A. Dickey trade, Travis d'Arnaud, Noah Syndergaard. You have Zach Wheeler from the Carlos Beltran deal. You have your Matt Harvey, who later on became the Dark Knight, right? And then you have like these highly touted, under the radar prospects, dudes like Jerry's Familia, guys like the lefty Steven Matz. So you have all the what's the other guy? A dude named, I think his name was Robert Gsellman. I think his name was. I think it's Gsellman, and then maybe a Seth Lugo. Right? So you have all these young guys coming up through the pipeline. So you don't know where Jacob deGrom is with that, because in theory, the Mets are dreamers because we occupy space across town from the greatest sports franchise ever, the New York Yankees. The New York Mets occupy a space across from the greatest sports franchise ever, the New York Yankees. Right? So a lot of the times we're trying to find our identity. Like, who are the Mets? Because we know who the Yankees are. The Yankees are content. What is baseball without the Yankees? Nothing. Right? But for us, we felt like we may have put together the greatest young pitching staff ever. We feel like we may have, but we want to be low key though. Remember, this is the Wilpons, so we want to be low key under the radar. We don't wanna count our chickens before they hatch, because we've been down this road before. We've been down this road before, right? So we're looking at a pitching staff of a rotation of Matt Harvey, Zach Wheeler at the top. They should be at the top, right? Because people had faith in them. Matt Harvey, Zach Wheeler. All of a sudden, this kid from Long Island, Steven Matz, is tearing up the minor leagues. And he's a lefty. So now you're like, okay. So we have Matt Harvey, Zach Wheeler, Steven Matz is on the way. Steven Matz is on the way. D'Angelo, what's good? Hey, and JJ, here's the thing. Here's the thing with that, right? The Mets already had talent at the major league level. And I'm going to mention some names off the top of my head, and maybe I'm wrong and I have the timeline wrong. But just help me with this, right? The Mets have a dude at first base named Lucas Duda, who a lot of fans loved Duda, right? He was a replacement for a dude named Ike Davis. Anybody remember Ike Davis? No, Mets fans probably don't remember Ike Davis, but I guarantee you this: if you subscribe to Mets It Up, we're gonna have a lot of conversations like this, like Ike Davis, right? Timo Perez, Benny Agbagiani, Jay Payton, Ray Ordonez, right? So if you're a casual Mets fan, get ready for a ride, because this is a hardcore Mets fan, right? I'm a hardcore Mets fan, and once we're able to put the content on Mets It Up, bro, we're gonna be talking real Mets talk. We're gonna have real Mets talk, bro. Ike Davis, Daniel Murphy's, Trey Turner's. What's the dude that used to play center field before Brendan Nimmo? Kirk Neuenhuis. We're gonna be talking like Kirk Neuenhuis. Y'all remember Kirk Neuenhuis? If y'all don't, if you don't listen, if you think I know Knicks, and I know Knicks, hey, listen, I'm a 99%er when it comes to the Knicks, right? But listen, when it comes to Mets, y'all better get ready. Y'all better get ready, right? But anyway, the point that I'm making is the point that I'm making is this. The point that I'm making is, Dre, what's good, Dre? The point that I'm getting is, I want to get this out of the bag, and then I'm gonna throw the link in the chat, man, so that we can chop it up about the Mets. Because I want to talk Correa, I want to talk Jacob deGrom, and I want to talk the future of the Mets batting order. I don't care about the pitching staff. That's a different show. But this show here, I want to talk about the batting order. But I want to get all this built up Mets stuff out of my system first. So the Jacob deGrom thing is intriguing because he and Noah Syndergaard look like twins. One twin has long gold hair, and the other twin has long blonde hair, right? And so you're like, wow, one dude is 6'6", one dude looks like that Marvel character, and the other dude looks like the frat house dude. The other dude looks like Shaggy Dude, right? So as the years go, as months go by, we're like, who's going to be the fifth starter, Noah Syndergaard or Jacob deGrom? Because at the time, if y'all don't remember, the Mets had pitching. The Mets had dudes named Dylan G. Yeah, remember Dylan G? Y'all remember Oliver Perez? What's the Mets pitcher from Wichita State? I'm gonna Google him right quick because I keep forgetting his name and for real. Mets pitcher from Wichita State. Mike Pelfrey, that's his name. Y'all remember Mike Pelfrey? So the Mets have all this pitching: Mike Pelfrey, Oliver Perez, um, Dylan G. And so we're like, what are we going to do with all this pitching? Is Jacob deGrom a closer? Well, no, we have these two dudes, Jeurys Familia and Henry Mayha. Y'all remember Henry Mayha? No, I'm telling y'all, I'm a Mets fan to my heart. And John Maine. John Maine also. JJ is my man's. You remember John Maine? Bro. So the Mets had all this pitching and no aces. Right? The Mets had a whole bunch of what I'm getting at is Pelfrey, Maine, Perez, G, all those guys, right? All those guys, a bunch of pitching, but no aces until Matt Harvey shows up. Matt Harvey shows up and he's got the bulldog ace mentality. Whereas Zach Wheeler shows up and he's got the stuff of an ace. Right? And then there's Steven Matz, who's a crafty lefty that's on the way. He's not there yet, but he's on the way. And then you have a Giselman, a Lugo, a deGrom, and a Syndergaard. So what do we? So with all this pitching, you're like, I don't know what these two skinny long hair dudes are gonna be. And then 2015 happens. And then 2015 happens. And for a lot of y'all, I'm gonna say this, and y'all are not gonna believe it, how long ago it was. Right? So 2015 happens, and guess what? While you think that was recent, that was 8 years ago. While we think that was recent, that was 8 years ago. Think about that, man. 8 seasons ago. 8 seasons ago, we make the trade for Yoenis Cespedes, and we make the magic carpet ride to the World Series. That was 8 years ago. Right? And no big deal. We went to the World Series. We lost. No big deal. We didn't lose to a scrub. The Royals had just lost to the Giants in the World Series in 2014. So it's not like we lost to a random team. The Royals were good. Right? But fast forward all those years, we get to see. Think about the magic in our prospects. All those dudes that I was mentioning were prospects. Matt Harvey, Zach Wheeler, Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, Steven Matz, Seth Lugo, Robert Giselman, Henry Mayha, Jeurys Familia, Travis d'Arnaud, Daniel Murphy, all those dudes were young. All those dudes were young, man. All those dudes were young. And the reason why I'm having a separation anxiety is because we have prospects right now, like dudes named Alex Ramirez, Ronnie Mauricio, Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, Francisco Alvarez. We have young prospects right now, but just like back then, we don't have room to play them. Adam says, do you miss Robinson Cano? No, no. As a matter of fact, the only reason why I'm okay with the Robinson Cano trade is because we got a great reliever out of it. We won that trade. Jared Kelenic should be here with us right now. But if I have to give up a Jared Kelenic for a Edwin Diaz, I do that trade 10 times out of 10. JJ, think about that. Think about when Jared Kelenic, a hitting machine, for Edwin Diaz. Would you have done that deal and taken Robinson Cano's contract? Yes. Brody Van Wagenen sucked, but I would still do that trade that he did 10 times out of 10. Right? I would still do that trade 10 times out of 10. I would eat Robinson Cano's money so that I can have Edwin Diaz. 10 times out of 10, man. 10 times out of 10. 10 times out of 10. And we paid Robinson Cano about, I think we paid Robinson Cano about $100 million, right? Still paying him, right? Still paying Robinson Cano right now. But so what? We have Edwin Diaz. Yeah, I know. Hey, LJ, I know we still paying Bobby Bonilla. I get it. I get it. No big deal. I ain't hurt. You know why? Because if we win a World Series, I will not be thinking about Bobby Bonilla's contract. Right? Right? Think about it. If we had won 5 World Series, 3 World Series, if we even been to the World Series 3 times since Bobby Bonilla left. Wait a minute. How many times matter of fact, we've been to the World Series 2 times since Bobby Bonilla left. Twice. Okay. Yeah, it's aggravating, but it's not bothersome. Right? But let's talk about Carlos Correa real quick. Let me do. I got called the Carlos Correa thing is like a pain in my neck right now. But I want to talk to y'all about it. I want to talk to y'all about it, man. I need to get a drink or something, man. Not that type of drink. Not that type of drink. Right. And thank y'all for rocking with me on Blawrence Tears. Blawrence Tears initially was a Knicks and Mets channel that turned into 99% Knicks. So I'm gonna take the Mets part of it and just give the Mets its own channel. But since I already have 2 channels already, Blawrence Tears and Vibes and stuff. Um, it's one of them deals where YouTube is like, you got a certain thing within a calendar year, you got to go through a process. So I'm going through this process with us right now. But Saturday, I think we'll be ready to do live streams on Mets It Up. It'll be 11 o'clock Friday night, but you may as well say Saturday. You may as well say Saturday, right? So here's the thing. With Correa. Here's the thing with Correa. We gotta have him. Here's the thing with Correa. We absolutely, positively gotta have him. right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We got to have Correa. But here is the backup to that. Here's the support to that. Here's the okay. Hold on, y'all. First, please. All right. All right. That was Miss Mocha. I think she's mad at me now. All right. So here's the thing. Can we live without Carlos Correa? Yes. Because we can rotate at third base. And I'm not saying this is the best option. I'm saying, can we live with this? Can we live with a platoon? Oh, hold on. Oh, okay. Okay. Man, I have big hands. I have big hands, y'all. I'm holding, in case y'all didn't, I'm holding 2 sodas at one time. Right. Can we live with a platoon at third base of Escobar, Beatty, Guillorme? Yes. Do we want to? No. Do we want to live with that? No. And I'm not one of those I'm not one of those that's dissatisfied with what Escobar brings. I'm one of those that feel like if you have a decision between Brett Beatty and Escobar, I gotta go Beatty. And if I have to go with a choice between Escobar and Correa, I gotta go Correa. And defensively, if I have to go with a choice between Luis Guillorme and my man Escobar at third, I gotta go Guillorme, right? Right. But the thing is this. The thing is with this, I don't want to have those options. Now, does that mean I dislike Brett Beatty? No. I love Brett Beatty. I love Ronnie Mauricio, right? I ain't even gonna lie to you. I even love Mark Vientos, even though I know he's a DH. But you got to go Carlos Correa. Whose future? Whose future looks brighter? Think about it. Whose future looks brighter, Brett Beatty or Carlos Correa? Right now, you got to go with Carlos Correa. You got to go with Correa, right? The only thing is when you sign Correa, what do you do with Guillorme, Escobar, Beatty, Vientos, Mauricio, and Alvarez? And JJ, you're right about Beatty in left field, but then what do you do with Mark Canha? This is an intriguing, an intriguing conversation. The Carlos Correa deal, I think, is done. I like Escobar, but he's a low-level everyday player. Right? Think about this is the thing that I talked to Hoodie Cav about earlier. Think about this. The Mets won 101 games with zero productivity from DH, with JD Martinez and Escobar at third, and Jacob deGrom out for most of the season. about what I'm saying to y'all, man. And I'm not trying to drive a point home, but I'm trying to drive a point home, I guess. Like, I guess and let me rephrase that. I'm not trying to create a narrative. I'm trying to drive a point home. Let me phrase it right there. Let me say something that makes sense, right? The Mets won 101 games with Jacob DeGrom half the season, with zero productivity from DH, zero, and a streaky third base position that only hits when we're winning. Third base was not clutch for us. Think about this. And this is the same thing I say about Canna. This is the same thing. This is the thing. This is the thing I say. It's my and for real baseball fans, I use a Sammy Sosa analogy a lot. Right? Right? Third base for us was Sammy Sosa. Right? And I know some of y'all are like, Sammy Sosa, what the hell are you talking about? Right? Right? When the Cubs are losing 2-0 and Sammy Sosa comes up, when Sammy Sosa comes up and the Cubs are losing 2-0, Sammy Sosa hits a harmless, weak, non-threatening pop fly to right field. When the Cubs are up 6-0 and the Cubs fans are dancing and drunk and celebrating, Sammy Sosa comes up and hits a grand slam. So the Cubs don't win 6-0, they win 10-0. Right? Y'all get what I'm saying? When the Cubs are losing 3-1 in the seventh inning, Sammy Sosa comes up and strikes out. But when the Cubs are up 5-2 in the ninth inning, Sammy Sosa comes up and hits a grand slam, and the Cubs win 9-2. Right? And that's what third base was for us. Salute, salute, salute. But that's what third base was for us. Right? Now, if we can get a all-star level third baseman to extend our lineup, I think this team is capable of winning. And think about what I'm saying before you guys think I'm crazy. With Buck Showalter, we basically won 101 games playing 7-on-9. Our best 7 against their best 9. And y'all saw it in the playoffs. I'm sorry, I'll take that back. 6 against 9. Because our catching position gave us zero offense either. So it was basically we won 101 games with our 6 best players against the other team's best 9 players. Because the catching position basically gave us zero. And we won 109 games. Right? So Buck won 101 games with poor catching offense, poor third base offense, and poor DH offense. Buck won 101 games. Now, what happens when Correa goes to third? Alvarez is the catcher, and we get something from DH. Yep. Yep. I see you. I see you. I see you. What's up, boss? I see you. I think the Carlos Correa thing is a done deal. I think Steven, I think the owner is a closer. I think that man does get what he wants. Ah, Mauricio at second base? No. I have a take on Mauricio and Vientos that's different from it. Man, listen, Ronnie Mauricio has put on 40 pounds. Ronnie Mauricio is no longer 166, bro. Ronnie Mauricio looks like he's every bit of 200 pounds. And JJ, you're absolutely right. I think Mauricio is not replacing Jeff McNeil. I think Ronnie Mauricio is going to replace Starling Marte in right field. I think Ronnie Mauricio is. I think the future Mets outfield is this: Nemo, Ramirez, Mauricio, and Ramirez is the center fielder. In my opinion, Alex Ramirez has Carlos Beltran written all over him, except maybe faster, like maybe faster in the early years. Right now, we don't know with any certainty where these guys are going to end up. Right, because Viento's not going to be first base because we have Pete Alonso there. Right, if we get Viento's a DH. And Manchild say the Yankees run New York. Probably, probably. But every dog day soon come. Or in English, every dog has their day. And one day the Mets will have their day. And I think it's the dawn of that day right now. Right? But here's the thing. This is the thing that I want to talk to you about, what I want to get on wax. This is the thing that I want to get on wax, y'all. A lineup with Carlos Correa in it makes us a World Series contender. Right? But a lineup with Eloy Jimenez in it and Carlos Correa makes us a dynasty. Right? Because the thing is, even if Alvarez is an everyday catcher, which he won't be because his defense is suspect, right? Even if Alvarez is catcher slash DH, right? Like even when Alvarez is the everyday catcher for the non-aces, because they brought in the new guy to be the catcher for Scherzer and Verlander. So the new guy is definitely the everyday catcher for Verlander and Scherzer. Alvarez can catch for 3 through 5, right? And DH. But even when on days that Alvarez catches, you have a hole in the DH spot. And when Alvarez DHs, you have a hole in the offensive catcher spot. Right? But with Correa, think about this lineup. Right? So think about this lineup. Think about this lineup, right? Brandon Nimmo is your leadoff hitter because you want preferably you want a high on base guy that can steal bases in a leadoff spot. Traditionally, you want I'm not going to say Ricky Henderson type guy because Ricky Henderson is like think Brett Butler. That's who any of y'all remember Brett Butler, the center fielder from the Dodgers? That's who you want. A Vince Coleman type. A Jose Reyes type. Right? That's what you want. Nimmo in a leadoff spot, batting somewhere between 260 and 275, high on base percentage type guy. Right? Now, with Nimmo on first base, you want a dude in that spot that kills fastballs. A high average guy, maybe somebody that bats about somewhere between 290 and 310 in that spot. Right? You want somebody in that spot, and we have the perfect guy. We have Jeff McNeil. So you want to have and I've been and people have been arguing with me about no, you want a athletic power guy in that 2 spot to drive in runs. No, not yet. Not for a deep lineup. Not for a deep lineup. Right? In a deep lineup, you want that lineup stretched out where the pitcher has to work through every batter. Right? Jeff McNeil Jeff McNeil led the National League in batting. Right? And hear me out real quick, just real quick before I have to go back to Nick's after party. Right? Brandon Nimmo in the leadoff spot working pitchers. Right? And you can't pitch around Nimmo because you have the best hitter in the National League right behind him. Right behind him, and Jeff McNeil. Now, since you have 2 lefties, you want the pitcher to work from both sides. So the next hitter has to be, a right-handed hitter or a switch hitter. In our case, we have Francisco Lindor. So Lindor can bat third, right? Lindor can bat third to protect Jeff McNeil. You can't pitch around Jeff McNeil. Right? You can't pitch around Jeff McNeil or Lindor will make you pay. Right? That's 3 hitters. Think about that. Now, these are cats that are on a roster already. Now, with that said, Nimmo's on base, McNeil's on base, right? And Lindor is the combination of the athletic guys that get on base and maybe run producer, and they get on base in front of Pete Alonso, who will bat cleanup. Think about Pete Alonso with runners on base. I'll leave that for itself. Now, if you want to try to pitch around Pete Alonso and take your chances with Carlos Correa, then I welcome that. I welcome Carlos Correa to the 5 spot behind Pete Alonso. So National League pitchers will have to go Lindor, Alonso, Correa. Who wants to deal with that on a daily basis? Right? So the lineup is Nimmo, McNeil, Lindor, Alonso, Correa. And even if you somehow get around Alfonso and Correa, you still have to deal with Starling Marte. Starling Marte batting 6th. Right? And this is just my way of thinking about it, y'all. I'm not saying this is what it is. This is just me. This is just me. Just thinking things out loud, right? Because I want my run producers to protect each other. I don't want my run producers to not ever be protected. I don't want there to ever be a situation where you can pitch around my run producer. Pete Alonso's up, and you could just pitch around Pete Alonso. I don't want to do that. Right now, right now, after you face Marte at 6th, now 7, 8, and 9 is some combination of Canna, Alvarez, and whoever the catcher is or DH is. It's some combination of Canna, Alvarez, and a catcher / DH. Right? JJ, I gotta. You can't have JJ. You can't have, in my mind, you can't have the best hitter in the National League that far down in your lineup. Right? Think about it. You're going to take Jeff McNeil, the best hitter in the National League, and bat him 5th or 6th. Nah, I think you're. Yeah, you got to give that man at bats because we can't minimize the greatness of Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil is a great, 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 great hitter. I think Jeff McNeil won the batting title. I don't want to take Jeff McNeil, a dude that won the batting title, and push him way down in the bottom of the lineup. I'd like to see him get as many at bats as possible, preferably getting on base in front of Pete Alonso. Now, with that said, Pete Alonso led the major leagues in RBIs, right? And we wasn't even putting ducks on the pond. We wasn't even putting people on base. Can you imagine what Pete Alonso can do if we actually put runners on base in front of him? Yeah, yeah, bro. I gotta. My main thing is this. My main thing when thinking this thing out, just thinking out loud, is trying to get to a world where a pitcher has to face Lindor, Alonso, and Correa with runners on base. And JJ and my model and so I'm not just thinking about this willy nilly. I'm not just not thinking about this willy nilly. Um, excuse me. I'm thinking about this. My model for this and D'Angelo, you know, D'Angelo. When I say what my model is, you're gonna collapse in your chair. D'Angelo says, I love this first show, Freezy, about our Mets and hopefully many more shows. Go Mets. Thanks, brother. Hey, D'Angelo, I actually have a channel for this, but for logistically, I just can't do it yet. It just Saturday morning, I'll be able to do it. Just to sum it up. And thank you for the generous contribution, D'Angelo. But D'Angelo, JJ, my model for this lineup is the 1995 Cleveland Indians. The 1995 Cleveland Indians. The Indians that had Albert Bell, Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez. They absolutely clobbered teams. They absolutely clobbered teams. But you know why they clobbered teams? Because they had a leadoff man named Kenny Lofton and a second baseman that was a battle titan contender named Carlos Baerga. Right? Think about how often Kenny Lofton and Carlos Baerga were on base for Albert Bell, Manny Ramirez, and Jim Thome. And think about how Brandon Nimmo reminds you of Kenny Lofton. And think about how Jeff McNeil's bat reminds you of Carlos Baerga's bat. Jeff McNeil is probably better, is a better bat than Carlos Baerga. And then think about a young Manny Ramirez, a young Jim Thome, and a young Albert Bell. And we have a young Carlos Correa, a young Francisco Lindor, and a young Pete Alonso. Right? Now, I know people are going to say, well, what about the rest of your lineup? What about Sandy Alomar? What about Paul Sorrento? Yeah, who cares? Think about this. If you're thinking about Paul Sorrento right now, right, then you're either two things. Either you're a real baseball nerd like myself. That's how come I remember who Paul Sorrento is. Or you just have trepidation about this Mets lineup. Right? The Indians outfield consisted of Albert Bell in left, Kenny Lofton in center, Manny Ramirez in right, or vice versa. Albert Bell in right, or whatever it is, vice versa, whatever. Right? On the infield, they had Jim Thome, Omar Vizquel, Carlos Baerga, and Paul Sorrento. They had Sandy Alomar catching. If you're a Mets fan, and I got to wrap up right here so I can jump back over with Nick's after party. But if you're a Mets fan, man, be excited, and be excited for Mets It Up, because we're gonna have conversations just like this on Mets It Up, and I'm gonna try to do it every day. I'm gonna try to do vibes and stuff. Nick's Morning Drive, Mets It Up every day, and then go to work and have my boss call my phone and treat me like act like a jerk, and then come back in and at night and do the Knicks at Night podcast. Hey, boss, I'm just joking. I joke. You could joke like that when you have a friendly relationship for your management, man. You can kind of joke like that. So, but anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna end this one, man. I'll see y'all over on Mixed After Party, but get ready for Mets It Up because we're gonna rock just like this. And signing off, I'm gonna try to say this to all of y'all every time, and I want y'all to say this back to me, man. Let's go Mets.